The Alaska Range runs across central Alaska. It's wide open country, with a sense of space that is remarkable. The vast expanse of glaciers, tall peaks, and frozen tundra is like a quiet, sleeping giant whose solitary sense of purpose humbles man who ventures out in it. Those who do endeavor in this remote wonderland know that the conditions each spring are perfect for Arctic man. The quest for speed is more about courage than reason or science. Ways to go fast are in everyone's backyard. In Alaska, some find acceleration from twisting the throttle of a wicked two-stroke. Some use the clean, simple power of nature's gravity. Those who pursue that special place are willing to risk life to experience a sensation that very few ever reach. The Arctic Man Classic is unparalleled in winter speed competition. The grandeur of frozen wilderness and the acceleration of peak physical output give this event its unique character.
Yeah, this is a different type of event, especially for a skier. There's the uphill and the downhill. I mean, you start downhill out of the gate, and then you get to your snow machinist, and on the whole way down, you're working with gravity. Gravity's your friend. I mean, you're looking for the steepest direct line, and then when you hook up, it's a reverse effect. You're getting pulled up, you're fighting gravity, so it hits different muscles in your bodies, and it's kind of good because it's in the middle of the race. And meanwhile, at the start, my legs are burning, and then my arms get the section to burn, and they give my legs a little bit of rest, even though they're still working. And then I get to the top, the crest, after the machinist has pulled us up, and I'm back on the gravity plane, and there's where I ride the flat ski and stay low and fast to the finish.
Yeah, this event's uniqueness is its length. Our events are over in, we give them a time limit of 3 minutes, perhaps, at extreme skiing an event. Downhills, it's 2/3 longer than most downhills. And that's going to play a big role here. It's just keeping the target, firstly to keep the speed, and secondly the endurance factors is huge here, more than the steeps.
Speed is a tremendous factor here at the Arctic Man. Speeds of over 80 miles an hour have been officially clocked.
A hybrid competition. The Arctic Man is a team time trial for downhill skiers and snow machinists. 40 teams of the top racers from each discipline draw for starting positions. Each team gets one run down the hill. Up near the Arctic, when April arrives, spring is in the air. The Arctic Man has become part of the ritual of the change of season and the celebration of shaking off the long periods of darkness and winter's cold.
For a population of about 300,000 people within 500 miles of the event, we've got probably 8,000 here for the weekend. Per capita, that's a pretty big gathering, and a lot of people come up here to enjoy the good weather, some of the best spring riding anywhere in the state. As you can see, we still got a lot of snow left up here, and you can go just about anywhere.
It seems like it grows every year. We get, last year was at over 5,000 people here. It's just a good time.
The grand scale of the Arctic Man parallels the untamed frontier spirit that abounds in Alaska. The course is 5 miles long and has 3 sections. The start line is atop a nameless 6,000-foot peak. Bursting from the starting gate, the skier drops away and accelerates quickly to over 80 miles an hour down a 55-degree grade, descending nearly 2 miles into a gorge.
Well, yeah, this is definitely a Alaskan race because you're out here taming nature at speeds of 80 plus miles an hour. I don't believe you could do this anywhere else but Alaska.
In the gorge, the team partner's waiting. The skier carefully approaches, makes the hookup, and is pulled away up through the gorge to the top of a 5,000-foot mountain.
The most agonizing thing is that first minute and how many seconds that the skier leaves the top of the course and he's on course. And the snow machiner is at the hookup point at the lower portion of the first canyon. And he has the only opportunity for preceding the skier is to look up the very last section of that canyon. And as the skier comes in, the snow machiner has to judge his speed. And the best way is to come up with that rope handle and get it to him clean, dry, and make him happy. And then pull out and make sure it's a smooth hookup as fast as you possibly can, and just hit your line on the course.
You're looking at a race that's 5 minutes long. You know, that's basically 2.5, 3 times the length of a World Cup downhill. The very first stage of the race, you're 1:45 seconds in before you even pick up the rope behind the snow machine. Then you start up a canyon being jerked around at 60, 70, 80 miles an hour at the top. You're pulling up slack in the rope and you're having to take it in, and it's a real battle of the mind because you're scared at the top. You know, what if I get jerked and drop the rope? It's real tough to hold on when you get 20 foot of slack and that guy hits it going 20, 30 miles an hour faster. You really got to be able to hold on. And your skier or your snow machiner really has to watch for the skier and make sure that you don't jerk the rope out of his hands, because once you drop the rope, you're out of there.
After going through the fastest section of the course, the skier makes a slingshot move, drops the tow line, and tucks for the second downhill run, which is 2 3/4 miles to the finish. The competitors make up 2 divergent groups of athletes. Usually, skiers and snow machiners don't mix. However, these 2 groups have one thing in common: the need for speed.
Well, they don't come together very often. As a matter of fact, this is probably the only time that you see so many skiers and snow machiners together. You got 2 very different groups of people. I think, though, when you look at the people at the top of their sport, in any sport, they've got a lot of things in common. And this race kind of brings those hardcore people together, and it's an odd match, but it works real good for this event.
Yeah, the Arctic Man combines 2 completely different sports. You've got the motorheads who go out and they ride snow machines every day, every weekend, regardless of what else they can do. And then you've got the skiers who every day they're up there riding the lifts and they're skiing and they're kind of shunning the motorized type of sport. But then at the end of the year, we all get together, we want to go really fast, and so we show up here and we go for it and we work together on the thing.
The racers are allowed some pre-course running. Then it's off to the top, where they gather for a pre-race meeting.
Heil story.
Race morning dawns with anticipation. The conditions have maintained overnight. Racers gather their equipment and head for the course. On top of the mountain, the mood is focused. The vista from the start line says it all about the character of this event.
This is what extreme, the location is what extreme is about.
I'll tell you, you're standing up there at the start of this race and you're gasping out across the wide open spaces. You can see glaciers in 3 of the different directions at the top. It's a fabulous feeling to be up there and be getting ready to make a 75-mile-an-hour run down through Alaska's wilderness.
At the top, skiers are anxious for the start. There are 40 teams competing. Race control has now okayed the start of the first team to go. This is the team of Tim Thurston and Tim Olsen. Tim Thurston, the skier, in his downhill tuck, 0 porosity skin suit, 220 centimeter skis, trout head helmet, no poles. The machinist, this is Tim Olsen, hanging on for dear life at speed. Now they approach the drop-off zone and the slingshot. A time of 4:54.64. Now back down the hill. Thurston and Olsen, finish line time. The computer says disqualified. We'll be right back with more action from the Arctic Man.
He hit it for the crowd.
Along with all the elements that factor into the competition, the Arctic Man has one final big issue that sets the tone for the race: the weather.
Well, I'll tell you, the weather up here in Alaska is probably the most crucial point of all. And we've been blessed the last 6 years with excellent weather. There are times, and it can come in a moment's notice, and we'll be zero visibility. And as long as it's clear like this, it's fine. Gets a little cloudy.
On top of the mountain, getting ready at the starting gate, is Andy Lakinski. He is paired with snow machinist David Kane, who's ready at the bottom of the first portion of the course. Andy timing himself, clean start, in a downhill suit. Downhill skis, full face helmet, no poles, into his tuck. Take a look at the course. He's right in the center, looking for a clean line. Good aerodynamic position. He's hoping he's got the right wax. Smooth right-hand turn, and here comes a bumpy section. Team number 1, Thurston Olsen, they turned in at 129.57 for their pickup. Let's see what Lakinski and Kane can do. A 144.44, not as good. But again, team number 1, Thurston Olsen, DQ. This is team number 2. Aboard the Polaris, Kane is pulling at top speed now. And here comes the big move, the drop-off and the slingshot. Kane on the Polaris, Lakinski hanging on. There's the slingshot. Now back into his downhill tuck. First year it's been groomed, it looks very smooth, but probably at 70, 80, 90 miles per hour, it's probably pretty rough. Finish line, the time, 5:09.97. That is the time to beat. Lakinski and Kane. Back to the top, John Zevley, and has problems with those big 220 centimeter speed skis. He's in the full speed suit with fairings. Bruce Hackle is aboard the snow machine, and out of the canyon they come. Their initial time, 1:29.99. Looking for a drop-off time. Right now, judges have no drop-off time. Let's see if they're going to get clocked for it. He's still on his downhill run, but there is no reading for the drop-off time. And according to the computer, this is going to be a disqualification. Too bad, but a great 1:29.99 for their pickup. But a DQ for the team of Zevley and Hackle. The perfect performance in any athletic endeavor comes together when you feel you're in that place they call the zone. Just what ingredients do you need to get there?
For training, you know, the skier spends all year long racing downhills and giant slalom and basically United States Ski Association races. Snow machiner may do the same in the snow machine event. I spent a lot of time skiing with Mike and riding my snow machine this year.
Yeah, teamwork in this race is quite critical. Requires some training. We've been out here for a few days working on our, for instance, our handoff, a real crux in our run. It's quite critical to have a smooth handoff and to have the snow machinist be aware of when you're coming in, your exact line. I'm aware of his exact line, smooth handoff. So that chemistry is crucial. I mean, that's the crux of our run. Is
the degree of difficulty in the Arctic Man here in Alaska is pretty reasonable this year. In past years, we haven't had the grooming that we've had this year, and the skiing, I think, is going to be smoother. We're going to see faster times this year, I think, than we ever have.
To the top, our next team, Mark Meacock and Bill Sledge. This is Mark Meacock on course. Orange full-face helmet, downhill suit, downhill boards. And they turn in a time of 1:54.97 for the pickup. And out of the gorge they come. Sledge aboard the Polaris, hanging on his Meacock. Out of the gorge, now approaching the top of the hill to the drop-off zone. The slingshot is critical. And a time of 4:36.71. And approaching the finish line. Trips the clocks, 5:37.72. They move into second spot. The unspoiled Hoodoo Mountain Wilderness is a perfect backdrop for a race that's twice as long as an Olympic downhill.
Arctic Man's, an Alaskan event where people that just want to get out and go for it, they come up here every year. Most of the winter's gone. You're almost to springtime and everybody's getting that spring fever. So we head out of town, we come out here and we just go for it. You race hard, you go for it.
Run number 6, team number 6, Jim Scott and Randy Hunt. Jim Scott, or it looks like some speed skis, downhill suit, and in his tuck he goes into the gorge. His pickup time, a good one, 1:39.13. Aboard the Arctic Cat. Hunt is hauling him up, taking a good line. Jim Scott very casual, but with plenty of speed. Now to the 4,600-foot elevation at first aid. Here's the whip. Lots of speed, over 80 miles per hour, a time of 4:15.09. They take the lead. And now dropping 1,200 feet to the finish line, time to beat, 5:09.97, 5:04.35. They take over the lead. On course, our next pairing. This is Andy Baugh and Gary Baugh. Andy Baugh, the skier. A pickup time for the Baugh brothers. 1:40.43 aboard the Polaris now. And a different line, staying to the inside. With lots of speed, heading towards first aid. The drop-off point, the whip, speeds over 76 miles per hour. A time for the Baugh brothers, 4:30.06. They are in the running right now. Now towards the finish. Again, the time to beat, 5:04.35. And for Baugh, it is a 5:22.50. Team number 8. This is Tristan Curry and Paul Ingram. Curry on course. Total length of the course, 6.7 miles the distance. From the 6,000-foot elevation, dropping 1,700 vertical feet into the canyon, where Paul Ingram is waiting. Speed is of the essence. Average speed 76 miles per hour. Time at the pickup in the gorge for Curry and Ingram, 1:42.83. However, did not get a time at first aid. Eventually a DNF. Obviously, timing equipment is very important at this race, and it has been improved over the years.
Right now with the timing process, they run you at 3-minute intervals, and it's a electronic timed event. Originally, they ran just fixed time a day, started you in 3-minute intervals, and they just measured when you finished. Now they have timed intervals, so you know how fast you were from start, pickup to release, and release to finish.
Okay. To the top we go, team number 9. Mark Lindsay and Wayne Dick. Mark Lindsay, the skier. And it looks like he's on some downhill boards and a downhill suit. From the top, the 6,000-foot elevation, into the canyon he goes. Looking for his partner. Wayne Dick will be aboard the Ski-Doo. Good tuck, carries his speed. Time in the canyon at the pickup, a 1:46.53. A one-handed technique, like a water skier, pointing down, slow it up a little bit. Middle of the track, good line, very smooth. Approaching first aid. The dropout at the 4,600-foot elevation. a 4:50.67. And definitely in some pain right there, not getting into the fastest tuck. Imagine 6.7 miles, the total distance of this course, up and down at speeds averaging 76 miles per hour. And now for Mark Lindsay into a good tuck, looking to the finish, trying to beat a time of 5:04.35 and a time of 5:50.04. They move into the top 5. Position number 5. We'll be right back with more Arctic Man from Alaska. Welcome back to Summit Lake, Alaska and the Arctic Man. We're set to go racing team number 10. Maynard and Potter. At the top, Chris Maynard, the speed skier. Take a look at the helmet, the suit, and the skis. Picks up his speed into the flat portion, widens his stance, and gets very low. Dropping 1,700 vertical feet, looking for his partner down in the gorge. Aboard a Polaris will be Steve Potter. That'll be our first time. In the middle of the course, the sweeping right-hander, very smooth, very fast. And the pickup, a time of 1:36.66. Fastest time so far for Maynard and Potter. Potter aboard the Polaris, full throttle, hanging on as Maynard. Up to the drop-off zone, place they call first aid. A time of 4:05.73 at the whip, and a finish line time of 4:54.54. Maynard and Potter take the lead. The results are in so far. They move into the top spot. To the top, team number 11, Peter Kakis and John Martin. And Peter Kakis, longtime speed skier. Take a look at his outfit. Those are fairings behind his calves in a very serious speed skiing tuck. Wide stance. And on a fast track into the canyon, looking for his partner aboard a Ski-Doo will be Steve Potter. And take a look at this, the gorge. The pickup time in the gorge, a 1:22.61, fastest time. Can he make this turn? Here comes a real rough section as he climbs out of the gorge, hanging on to the Ski-Doo, piloted by John Martin, Peter Kakis. Solid. Next comes the drop-off at first aid. Speeds of well over 80 miles per hour, a time of 3:45.67, again blowing away the field. Approaching the finish, time to beat 4:54.54.
Here comes Peter.
And it's 4:28.63. In the science of speed, whether it's the result of motive power or gravity, courage is a springboard where knowledge and technology are the weapons.
For the technological part of the race, we basically come here with the fastest machine allowed by the CC limitations in the rules. I've come up here with a number of different sets of jetting and clutching combinations, and we're out here doing a lot of testing, trying to get the widest power band for the pull up through the canyon, and yet the highest speed over the top of the hill and down to the release point. There's just a lot of different combinations of that need to be experimented with, and we hope to have the right combination come race day.
Okay.
To the top we go, Jones and Sterling. Pairing number 12. And in the downhill tuck. From top to canyon, 1 3/4 miles to the canyon to first aid, 2.5 miles. Then another 2.5 miles to the finish line. Part 1 of the course, dropping 1,700 vertical feet. Jones and Sterling. Now they team up, head out of the canyon. Course beginning to get a little rough. Skiers got to be careful. One hand, and oh, the skier goes down, hooks an inside edge, comes out of the bindings. Let's see if Jones is okay. Jones has survived, but that is a DNF. We'll be right back with more of the Arctic Man from Summit Lake, Alaska. The wide open grandeur of the Alaska Range, its serene beauty, and the Arctic Man's party atmosphere almost overshadows the serious nature of this ultra competition.
Yeah, the main fear factor is that you'll run into a big, huge pothole or a hole that somebody else has left in that course, or you know, you'll have a problem that you'll end up dropping your skier or dropping your sled. You know, everybody out there is trying to win, and it's a money race. It's not an amateur race. It's a money race. People put money in. Their stakes are high, and you're really going for it.
I'm not particularly scared of going behind the snow machine. I think the biggest fear I have is falling.
I'm a competitive extreme skier. I have a circuit that covers the world. We have about 6 stops. It's a little bit different than these events, although I could consider this extreme to overuse that term. There's a lot of, once again, back to that endurance. You know, to compete professionally on any of these levels, you gotta be in shape, and you gotta have a lot of time on snow so you can react quickly to all the situations that come up. I mean, here the terrain is, there's a lot of hits on it, there's a lot of jumps, there's a lot of holes, and you gotta be able to avoid those, and that requires keeping your eyes wide open and basically going for it top to bottom.
Team number 14, Eric Heil and Lynn Story on course is Eric Heil. This is a downhill suit and downhill skis, maybe some speed skis. Take a look at the tips, maybe 220s, carrying some good speed out of the start. Heil and Story. Story aboard an Arctic Cat out of the canyon. Their time, a 1:31.86. That is possibly the second fastest time if they survive this run. Take a look at his line, practically passing up the snowmobile. Now to the drop-off at first aid. The slingshot, 82 miles per hour, time of 31.33. Second fastest time towards the finish, time to beat, 4:28.63. A 4:38.63, they move into second spot. Team 16, a pair of ladies, Jessica Nolan and Alicia Josh. Jessica Nolan on course. The speed skier. A 1.75 miles of downhill speed. Now the pickup. A time of, at the 2-minute mark right now, 2:03.84. And out of the canyon, heading up to the 4,600-foot elevation to what they call first aid. The fastest part of the course, the whip. And time for Nolan Josh, 5:02.44. Back into the tuck. Towards the finish line, a 2.5-mile run. Time to beat, 4:28.63. And the ladies turn in a time of 6:05.59. That's good enough right now for a 9th place provisional finish. Team number 17. The skier, Mark Murdo. His teammate Mike Anderson waits below, a 1.75 miles down into the canyon. Speeds here approaching 70-75 miles per hour. Murdo with the full speed skiing helmet and the suit and the full speed skiing 220 skis. Here's the pickup, a time of 1:26.33. Great time. Mike Anderson aboard the Arctic Cat. First aid drop-off time, 3:46.83. Finish line time, 4:32.03. They move into second spot behind Caucus and Martin. We'll be right back with more of the Arctic Man from Summit Lake, Alaska. Stay with us. At the Arctic Man, all eyes are on the performance of the competitors, but with over 3,000 fans around the course, there's a lot of interest in the freestyle activities. Big air is everywhere. Team number 22, Johnson and Wolverton. Joe Johnson on course. Once again, a speed skiing suit with the calf bearings. Little trouble in the flats. Same line as everyone else, that middle portion of the course. The sweeper right-hander coming up. Again, speeds over 75 miles per hour. Dropping 1,700 vertical feet into the gorge or the canyon, where he'll be picked up. His partner, Greg Wolverton. And Greg is aboard a Polaris. And look at this line. Tough on both rider and skier. Looks back. Yes, he's still got a skier behind him. And the course is getting rougher. Time to beat a 4:28.63. For these two, a 1:32.93 in the gorge, a 4:03.60 at first aid. They trip the clock. There's the whip. And now towards the finish. Team number 23, Brian Sopp and Steve Spence. Sopp on course. Take a look at this beautiful helmet. Ready for speeds over 150 miles per hour on a speed skiing course, but this is the unusual 6.7 miles of up and down speed skiing with the help of snow machines. His partner picks him up. Spence aboard the machine, a time of 1:26.90 at the pickup spot. That's decent. Now approaching first aid, the drop-off, and the whip. Good speed, a time of 4:18.95. A disqualification, and they are out of the running. Team 24, Rolf Sandberg and Lynn Turner. They know the time to beat, 4:28.63. Into the tuck, a fast track from the top. Once again, 6.7 miles, the total distance of this course, dropping 1,700 vertical feet into the canyon. A pickup time now, 1:37.75. It's Turner on the Ski-Doo pulling Sandberg. A short rope, but they are at some good speed right now. Climbing 1,200 vertical feet up to first aid. Fastest part of the course. And a quick whip. A time of 4:14.44. And a finishing time of 5:05.25.
Team 24, Rolf Sandberg and Lynn Turner from Birdwood and
Team number 25, Pete Bowers and Bob Gilman. Now for Pete Bowers, I believe the National Extreme Skiing Champion at one time. Time check into the gorge, a 1:37.30, good pickup time. They're in the hunt. For the Polaris is Bob Gilman. Extreme skiing, yes, this is 6.7 miles of extreme speed. Out of the canyon to the drop-off point. Approaching 82 miles per hour, the whip. Towards the finish, time to beat 4:28.63. Whoa, back on the skis. Tripping the lights. Bowers, 4:49.31. Moves him into fifth. Serrano and Lynn, team number 26. On course. Into the flats. Maintaining that tuck. Into the canyon, the pickup. For Serrano and Lynn, a 1:36.72 at the pickup. Now uphill under power. Tricky section of the course. Some bumps, some airtime. Staying just to the inside of the machine. Clear vision of the snow and the bumps and the ruts. Now approaching first aid, the drop-off, and the whip. Good time, 4:07.70. End result, a did not finish for Serrano and Lynn. Welcome back to the Arctic Man. Racing on the edge can be an enhancement to your life in general.
Racing and training to get better, it helps you out, throughout your life. When you learn how to go for something, train for it, and attain it. It'll help you out in your work, life. It doesn't matter. Once you learn how to go for something and attain something, then you can apply that to other parts of your life.
Yeah, I find that racing changes all aspects in your life. I've been racing for 15 years, and I still have not found my limit. I've pushed my limit to the point well beyond what most people have, and still there's an indefinite measure to go yet. But I know that pushing things to the extreme in any of these sports just seems to make the rest of life a little bit easier and allows you to expand on the other limits in your life also.
The spiritual benefits, I would say, is that you always thank God that you finish an event in one piece.
Uncurl on course. Time to beat a 4:28.63. That was set by Caucus and Martin. That was team number 11 quite a long time ago. Conditions obviously a little bit rougher. Ryan Curl in his tuck. Back into the canyon. Good pickup. A time of 1:31.05. Good negotiation out of the canyon. Hanging on behind the Ski-Doo. Driver and skier using a lot of leg muscles. They approach now first aid drop-off. Good speed, a 3:54.45 at this point. And towards the finish line, a time of 5:27.86, a 15th place. Here we go, team number 28, Mike Moe and Dan Brewer. Yes, that's Tommy Moe's brother. And let's see what Moe can do on this course. That is a serious tuck. In a very serious suit. Good pickup time of 1:23.92. Into the gorge. Aboard the Polaris is Brewer, Dan Brewer. Checks on Moe. Everything okay? And they're carrying good speed. Next timing checkpoint. First aid. Drop off 3:53.15. Another good one in the finish, 4:34.99, a third place provisional finish for Moe and Brewer. We'll be right back to Summit Lake, Alaska and the Arctic Man. As the race continues, race conditions continue to change, and next up is the team of Michelle McMillan and Glory Strickler. Michelle McMillan on course. Still the team to beat, Caucus and Martin, a 4:28.63. In second right now, Murdo and Anderson, a 4:32. Two very tough times to get to the top brackets. Third is Moe and Brewer right now. Running in the 31st position, McMillan and Strickler. Dropping down into the canyon. Check the pickup time, not a lot of speed right here. a time of 2:10:58. Strickler piloting the Polaris. Now back up to speed. And into a rough section here. Course conditions have changed drastically. Again, the team of McMillan and Strickler looking to beat a time of 4:28:63. At the drop-off, reaching the fastest speed, their time 5:40:40. And approaching the finish, a time of 6:45:96, 22nd place. Congratulations, good job on a very rough course. Another addition at the Arctic Man has been snowboards. Even without the aerodynamic possibilities of the skiers, the snowboarders will compete in their own division in the future. Chris Shannon, John Soderstrom. It's Shannon on the snowboard. I like going fast, but not this fast on a snowboard. It can get a little hairy. Doing a great job is Chris Shannon. A little difficult to maintain a tuck there, but surviving 1,700 vertical feet downhill, now being picked up by Soderstrom or the Ski-Doo. Now comes the fun part for the snowboarder. And take a look at that Ski-Doo. Full hard boot system. Great technique. So for Shannon and Soderstrom, the pickup time in the canyon was 2:19:83. The drop-off at first aid was 5:06:63, very respectable. Finishing time 6:18:65, good enough for a 21st place in the Arctic Man. Back to the top of the course. Team number 34, our final team. Todd Diaz and Kit Frey. Diaz on course. And into the tuck, into the flats. Still pretty smooth up top here. Into the canyon. Moves up the Frey aboard the Ski-Doo. A pickup time of 1:51:77. Kit Frey aboard the Ski-Doo, looking for a smooth line, checking on his skier behind him. Little bit of air. Maintaining the speed. Now the climb to the drop-off point. A 4:37:26 at drop-off.
All right.
A time at the finish, 5:34:93. Here's a look at the final results. The top five: in fifth, Bowers and Gilman. Fourth, Heil Story. Third, Mo Brewer. Second, Murdo and Anderson. And Kakis Martin, the overall champions, with a finishing time of 4:28:63. Congratulations to all our competitors.
We had a great run today. We skis ran really well up on top. Len had a terrific pull through the middle. We carried a lot of speed, and we got a strong release and skied real fast on the bottom.
The canyon was pretty rough, but we had a lot of speed going through the canyon. I think this year we had the fastest speed up on top, so speeds are probably a little bit higher than last year as far as the snow machines. I don't know, the skis are...
Yeah, I would expect to see some of the top times that's ever been seen on the skier sections as well from the top skiers.
Right now they've got the unofficial results, and the machines are supposed to be stock machines. And what they're doing right now is verifying that they are stock. They'll measure the CC of the heads, they'll check the ports, they'll check the intake and check the fuel on them to make sure that they are stock sleds and that nobody is illegal. And they tear down the top 5, the top fastest machines of the day. So
what could...
We got third because of strong skis and strong pull, I guess. If you don't finish, you don't place, you know? You got to finish to do well. But then again, there's a real fine line between being conservative and you know, you can finish and be slow, but it's kind of like real close. Got to hang it out to win, you know?
We drew 28th this year, and with the snow conditions, I knew that it would be dished out, and trying to dodge the holes. That's it, trying to survive, basically.
Well, looks like we got second. Of course, I'm the rookie. This is my first year. Mike's been here. How long you been here, Mike?
8 years.
8 years. He's the man right there. He just pulled me. I mean, you know, he's the guy that told me how to do it, and I hung on and kept low, and we did well. Hey, we're surprised. I'm surprised. He's not surprised. He knows.
I'm not that surprised. I had a lot of confidence in him going into him, kind of hanging out with him last week and seeing how he was doing, and he had a lot of confidence, and that kind of helped me out. And I figured if we finished the race, we'd be in the top 4 or 5. As the week goes, yeah, you see who's here and see how fast they're running and what they're riding. And I had somebody loan me a snow machine. Len Story gave me a snow machine to borrow. He came from Arctic Rec, and it was the fastest snow machine here today. The guy who loaned me the machine actually got Top Gun with 86 miles an hour. So he gave me a fast machine to ride, which is a very big part of it.
Well, I knew that the skis were running fast. We were waxed right today. All the gear was here. We had the speed suit, the speed helmet, the 240s, and I held my tuck through, you know, all the speed sections. First aid, where there's a lot of air up here, where there's on this rise where you come over, and it's the only time I came out of my tuck. But I tell you, when you're going about 60 miles an hour and you launch and you're landing 70 feet down the run, very rough terrain, I opened up. It was very scary. I think I saw God, but he was going like this. So I figured, well, heck, if I made it this far, I'm going to the finish. And yeah, I knew we had a good run. Mike's pull through the canyon was incredible. We made like 2 turns in there, and it was full on. That was the most exciting part, was riding right behind that man right there.
Is this a...
Well, I know where the performance brought us over the top was, my skier, right here. This guy.
Yeah, and
he's fast.
The race takes 4.5 minutes, and I'm 2 minutes behind the machine, so it's not just the skiing part. It's got to be the machinist too. And John has a lot of experience, and he's a great driver.
Okay. What does it take to make a good team? What's that chemistry? What's important in that regard?
Well, you stay here in a closed situation in a motorhome for a week or over a week, and we developed a great relationship the first time I came up here. I saw all the great skiing around here, and after the first event, he pulled me for 4 days up and down. I skied down the mountains. He pulled me up, not just on this race course, but we became a good friends, and we know what to expect from each other. And you know, I have a lot of racing experience, so when he gets nervous, you know, I kind of slow him down, and when he gets on a course, I just yell at him, go fast, pull on that post, come on, let's go.
Oh, I got to agree with Peter. I get a little anxious sometimes at the hookup, and I get out in front of him, and he has to slow down. The secret is not to slow the skier down. Snow machiner, match your skier's speed, get a good hookup, and up the canyon you go. And a lot of places in the canyon, there's big holes and stuff like that. You know, sometimes you can't go around them all. You got to go through them. And we use an aluminum pole, and sometimes that can be dangerous. We can break the pole. You know, the pole can bend in half. We got to go around the holes if we can. But today we went through a great big hole, and we almost lost it.
Again, this is the experience that he's got, you know, with the mechanics. I ski. I'm not used to be pulled up behind the machines and having a pole holding in my hands. But he's got a design that works for me, and I haven't even tried the rope. The pole is working for me well, and I'm sure it wouldn't if I would to put the pole on the snow machine myself without the setup that he works on the year over and gets it done that way.
The Arctic Man didn't appear overnight. It was the idea of organizer Howard Theus.
I came down here 13, 14 years ago, used snow machine with my brother. He'd pull me skiing, I'd snow machine, he'd pull me skiing. And we were up one day on top of what they call the mountain. It's called a different word we all know about, but we won't speak that word. And I said, Denny, why don't you let me ski down this thing? You pick me up in the canyon and see how fast I can get to the top. I said, okay, where will I meet you? I said, down at the hookup. What do you mean the hookup? I said, down at the bottom of that canyon. So I went flying down there, and I met him at the bottom, and he pulled me to the top, and I got to the top. I said, this is a neat deal. This would be a lot of fun to have a race. What, a snow machine race? I said, no, a skier and a snow machine race. Nah, it never worked. So we were in a bar that night, and there was about 3 of us sitting there, and I said, what do you think, guys? Let's all of us put the $100 up and try this thing. If it works, we'll go. And so we did it that day with some bunch of guys, and I won. I had $300 in my pocket, and I said, okay, guys, let's have a race. We came up the next spring, and we looked it over. I guess we came up in November, excuse me. We looked it over, we went through the mountains, found out where it was, came down here. Then I had a friend come up here, and I put skis on, and I came off the top of the first aid with some people down below, and we vided it, and I went to Coors, and I said, I got a neat idea for a race to make you guys look like you're cool, and what do you think? What is it? I said, so a ski race with a snow machine and a skier. Won't work. We did it. We had 9 teams. We had 100 people here, first year. 9 teams, 100 people. We had 10 teams, excuse me, but the 10th team coming over stuck his snow machine in Gun Creek and couldn't get here. So we ran the race. We went home, and the next year was 21. Next year was 43. It just kept going and going and going. And now what's happened now, we've had up to 52. And I think that the competition has gotten so good that if you don't train for this, you'll notice today almost all of them completed. They dropped the ropes, very few fell, because the competition's getting so good. And I don't know, we've had some ideas. In fact, 2 of the people in Tahoe said, hey, why don't we put one of these together in Tahoe and one in Aspen, and we make this the World Pole Ski Championship. And if you win there and you think you're cool, come here and show us how cool you are. I mean, I don't think there's anywhere else, and there might be, that you can link 5.5-mile course together with what we have here and make it work. And some people must think it's exciting. I mean, you look around here, if there's 8,000 people here, I'll eat my hat. I mean, it's unbelievable. And I don't know why, unless it's a spring break. And then the people that here have been really good. Normally we have them on the course. Today we had no problems at all. We had one small little encounter, and it was more of our fault than the spectators. Kid reran it again, but I think the people enjoy it too. I mean, look at this place. So where we're going to go with it? To the 12th annual next year. We're at 11 and go to 12. And I don't know if I can survive another one of them, but it's getting a little more organized. We kind of know what we're doing now, and we've got a lot of volunteers. There's a lot of volunteers that never happen, like any event.